Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding universe is a sprawling, genre-blending epic that fuses sci-fi, supernatural lore, and personal drama. At its core, it's a story about connections between individuals, between life and death, and between past and future. The narratives of Death Stranding 2019 and its sequel Death Stranding 2 on the Beach 2025 form a single, continuous saga. This essay will unpack the full plot, lore and character arcs of both games in chronological order, revealing every twist and major story beat, with full spoilers. We'll explore the ancient cycle of extinction entities and the mysterious beaches. Follow Sam Porter Bridges from his unusual birth to his reluctant hero's journey, and examine how the sequel expands upon and even reinterprets the original story. The tone will remain analytical and informative, but given Kojima's flair for the bizarre, expect a touch of wry humor to lighten the apocalyptic mood. Let's reconnect the story strands from the dawn of extinction to the ultimate reunion. The story truly begins billions of years ago, at the birth of the universe. In Death Stranding's lore, the Big Bang was the result of a collision between matter and antimatter, a spark that created both life, matter, and the ever-present spectre of death, antimatter. Life flourished, but the universe, whether by natural law or some cosmic will, continually corrects itself, seeking to return to nothingness through periodic extinction events. Earth has experienced 5 mass extinctions in its history, each triggered by a being known as an extinction entity, EE. An extinction entity is a unique life form intrinsically tied to the afterlife. Its very existence bridges the worlds of the living and the dead and catalyzes a mass extinction event, a Death Stranding. According to archaeological evidence in the game's lore, each past EE belonged to a different species, not all of them human. Remains have been found of prehistoric creatures, like a trilobite, a dinosaur, an ammonite, a mammoth, and even a prehistoric human, Iceman, that never decayed, seemingly preserved in time with umbilical strands linking them to another realm. These align with known extinction events in Earth's history, from the end of the dinosaurs to the Pleistocene die-offs. In other words, long before humans existed, other extinction entities had already ushered in extinctions. Yet crucially, in each case, life was never completely wiped out. As later explained, it appears that each EE chose to let some life survive rather than fully reset the world. This cycle of death and rebirth is central to Death Stranding's philosophy. Humanity now faces a looming 6th extinction. This time, the extinction entity is one of our own, Bridget Strand. Bridget's story, and her other self, Amelie, is at the heart of everything, setting in motion the apocalyptic events known as the Death Stranding. But to understand that, we first need to grasp the concept of the beach in this universe.
Why do you have to stay on the beach?
Sam, I am the beach. And I must stay here and ensure that the extinction happens. Even if it takes tens or hundreds of thousands of years.
Alone?
That's what an EE does.
In the world of Death Stranding, the beach is a kind of limbo or personal purgatory, a metaphysical shoreline between life and the afterlife where time stands still. Every individual has their own beach, which souls pass through upon death. Most people can't consciously access their beach until they die, but extinction entities, EEs, have a special connection to it. An EE's beach is uniquely powerful and can link to others. In Bridget Strand's case, her connection to the beach defined her very existence. Bridget's early life was haunted by terrifying prophetic nightmares of apocalyptic events. She didn't understand it at the time, but these visions were tied to her nature as an EE, glimpses of future extinction. In her early 20s, Bridget was diagnosed with uterine cancer. During surgery, something extraordinary occurred. Her heart, body, and soul was split into two distinct forms. Her physical body remained in the world of the living, but her soul became stranded on the beach. This soul manifested as a younger woman named Amelie, or Amelia. In effect, Bridget and Amelie are two halves of the same person, one aging in the real world, the other ageless on the beach, still fundamentally connected. Fun fact, Die Hardman, one of Bridget's closest allies, later jokes that Bridget Strand literally lived up to her name. She became a bridge stranded between life and death. Kojima loves his on-the-nose naming. On the beach, Amelie slowly began to understand who and what she was. Since time is frozen there and the beach grants access to knowledge from the afterlife, she had essentially unlimited time and information to learn. She eventually discovered her identity as an extinction entity and realized her nightmares were visions of the sixth extinction she was destined to trigger. At first, Amelie rebelled against this fate. She resolved to stop the sixth mass extinction, if it could be prevented at all. Meanwhile, Bridget's body continued to live on Earth, aging normally and rising through political ranks. Outwardly, she was a dedicated public servant, eventually becoming vice president and later president of the United States. But privately, she was burdened by the knowledge that an extinction-level event loomed. She literally had one foot in the afterlife. The duality of Bridget and Amelie was kept secret from the world. Even those closest to her only ever saw Bridget in person, and Amelie via holograms or in dreams. To the public, Amelie was introduced as Bridget's daughter, a convenient lie to explain the presence of the younger woman. In truth, they were mother and daughter only in a metaphorical sense, two versions of the same extinction entity split by the beach. Bridget and Amelie's double life would shape the fate of humanity. But the extinction wasn't coming just yet. First came a series of scientific breakthroughs and devastating mistakes that would begin to unravel the boundaries between life and death. The end of the world was about to begin. The sixth extinction event, the Death Stranding phenomenon, was triggered by what could almost be described as an accidental discovery. It began with what would later be known as the first Voidout. Sometime in the near future, a doctor attempted a C-section on a brain-dead pregnant woman in hopes of saving her unborn child. Unbeknownst to him, the metaphysical barrier between life and death had already been weakened by the Bridget-Amelie soul split. This surgical procedure pushed things over the edge. The moment the fetus was removed, the baby tragically died, and instead of peacefully passing on, its soul became a stranded being, a beached thing. The stunned physician suddenly found himself face to face with an otherworldly entity, essentially the ghost of the newborn, composed of antimatter. When the living doctor, matter, came into contact with the BT, antimatter, the result was catastrophic. Matter and antimatter annihilated each other in a massive explosion, leveling the surrounding area. This was the first known Voidout, an explosion on par with a nuclear blast, triggered by a BT consuming a living human. The government initially tried to pass off the blast as a terrorist attack or meteor strike, but Bridget knew the truth. This was the beginning of the end, a sign that the wall between life and death was collapsing. Determined to protect humanity, she initiated a top-secret research program under a new organization called Bridges. The name was fitting. They aimed to build connections between people, and quite literally, to the other side. The goal of the Bridges project was to understand and prevent further Voidouts. Researchers began experimenting with infants born from still mothers, brain-dead pregnant women like the one involved in the first Voidout. These babies, carried to term in lifeless wombs, existed on the threshold between life and death. They were dubbed bridge babies, or BBs. The hope was that BBs could serve as conduits, able to detect BTs before they made contact with the living. To do this safely, the infants were placed in high-tech pods designed to simulate the womb, allowing researchers to harness their connection to the afterlife without risking direct matter-antimatter contact. But the science was volatile, borderline sacrilegious, and the risks enormous. One early BB experiment went horribly wrong, resulting in a second catastrophic void-out that obliterated all of Manhattan. The explosion killed Bridget's presidential successor and wiped out one of the world's greatest cities. Publicly, the government announced the BB program had been shut down due to the danger. Privately, President Bridget Strand continued the research in secret, convinced the BBs were still the key to preventing the sixth extinction. Bridges refined the BB pod technology to better contain the infants and avoid further accidents. Despite the disaster in Manhattan, Bridget pressed forward. She believed that understanding the afterlife was humanity's only hope. And fate was about to make things personal. The next BB experiment would involve a child born to a family directly connected to both Bridget and her most trusted agent. Bridget's Bridges team identified a promising new BB candidate, the unborn child of Captain Clifford "Cliff" Unger and his wife Lisa. Cliff was a battle-hardened US Army Special Forces veteran, and as fate, or narrative convenience, would have it, his former subordinate was none other than John Blake McClane, later known as Die Hardman, Bridget's most trusted agent. After a tragic accident, Lisa had fallen into a vegetative coma, effectively brain dead, but her body was still nurturing their unborn son. Desperate to save both his wife and child, Cliff agreed to bring Lisa to Bridges, unaware that the organization's true goal was to use his baby in the BB program. Bridget placed John, Die Hardman, in charge of the sensitive operation. But when John realized that his former commanding officer, the man who once saved his life, was unknowingly about to lose his son to government experimentation, he was overwhelmed with guilt. Secretly, he revealed the truth to Cliff and offered to help him escape with the baby. However, John made it clear that Lisa couldn't be saved. In a tragic act of mercy, Cliff euthanized his brain-dead wife to free her soul and spare her further suffering. He then attempted to flee the Bridges research facility with his infant son, aided by John's covert support. They didn't get far. President Bridget, convinced that this child was the key to stopping extinction, ordered John to stop Cliff by any means necessary, even if it meant killing him. Die Hardman hesitated, unable to bring himself to shoot his mentor. So Bridget took matters into her own hands and pulled the trigger. In the chaos, her gunfire killed not only Cliff, but also, inadvertently, the baby in his arms. In one heartbreaking moment, Bridget Strand extinguished the life of the soldier who served her and seemingly doomed the child she had desperately hoped would save humanity. But this is Death Stranding, where death is not always the end. What happened next was one of the most pivotal supernatural events in the timeline. On the beach, Amelie, Bridget's soul, intercepted the soul of Cliff's infant son. As the baby's spirit drifted toward its own beach, the afterlife, Amelie fixed the child's fatal wounds and repatriated him, sending him back to the world of the living. In doing so, she created a permanent metaphysical bond between herself and the child, and imbued him with extraordinary traits. The resurrected baby was returned to Bridget on Earth. Racked with guilt, but still convinced he had a greater purpose, she chose to raise the boy as her own. The child's original name, if Cliff had chosen one, was lost, but Bridget gave him the name Cliff and Lisa had intended, Sam. Thus, Sam Porter Bridges, born Sam Strand in a sense, was brought into the world through death and rebirth. He became the child of two mothers, Bridget, his adoptive mother in the living world, and Amelie, his spiritual guardian on the beach. Bridget kept the truth of his origins hidden. To the outside world, Sam was Bridget's orphaned ward. He grew up calling her Mom and believing Amelie was her daughter, his older sister who lived far away. In truth, whenever Sam saw Amelie, it was likely a dreamlike beach encounter or a hologram projection, as she had no physical body in the real world. This deception was carefully maintained. No one, not even Sam, met Amelie in person. Sam's childhood was strange, to say the least. He spent time on Amelie's beach as a boy, building sandcastles and forming a deep emotional bond with this ageless sister. These memories were real to him, even if the setting defied explanation. Crucially, Amelie's resurrection of Sam left permanent effects. He became a repatriate, someone who can return from death. When Sam dies, his soul can find its way back through the seam, the limbo ocean connecting one's beach to the living world, and reanimate his body. In short, Sam cannot die permanently, a useful trait in a world haunted by death. Sam also developed dooms, a condition that grants individuals supernatural sensitivity. Doom's abilities vary. In Sam's case, he could mildly sense BTs and shared Bridget and Amelie's apocalyptic visions. These powers came at a cost. Sam became withdrawn and developed a phobia of touch, aphenphosmphobia, likely from trauma and sensory overload. But Sam's revival shattered the delicate boundary between life and death. Remember, Amelie's act of saving Sam formed a strong bridge between realms, and that bridge swung the door wide open. Soon after Sam's resurrection, the world began to break. Ghostly BTs appeared across the planet, drawn by increased chiral energy, and Voidouts erupted in chain reactions. Entire cities were wiped off the map. This was the true beginning of the Death Stranding, the moment when the dead became stranded in the world of the living on a global scale. Humanity was pushed to the brink of extinction. The skies turned perpetually grey with chiral contamination, and a new kind of rain, timefall, began to fall. Infused with chiralium, timefall caused rapid aging and decay of anything it touched. Crops withered, wildlife vanished, infrastructure crumbled, people were forced into hiding as the world literally rotted around them. Worse still, anyone who died became a potential bomb. If not cremated in time, a corpse would generate a BT and risk triggering a void-out. The dead became more dangerous than the living. Imagine needing to incinerate your grandmother within 24 hours or risk your entire city being vaporized. Society collapsed. The United States fractured into isolated city-states and underground bunkers. Communication beyond short range failed. Satellites were knocked out by chiral storms. People sealed themselves away, fearing both BTs and each other. The country became the United Cities of America, UCA in name only, a scattering of not cities, barely holding on. Bridget and Amelie watched this ruined world and felt the crushing weight of their actions. Their attempts to prevent the apocalypse may have caused it. Bridget's aggressive BB experiments, Amelie's resurrection of Sam, it's possible these things accelerated the extinction timeline, as if the universe, driven by entropy, punished their interference. President Bridget and her beach-bound soul Amelie fell into despair. Humanity's prospects were bleak. If extinction was inevitable, maybe trying to stop it had only made things worse.
If I had just done my job, none of this would have happened. But I couldn't take it anymore. I got so tired of waiting, and I figured that no one would blame me if I just got it all over with. So, that's what I did.
Sounds like hell.
Having lost hope of preventing the sixth extinction, Bridget and Amelie made a fateful, morally fraught decision. Instead of stopping it, they would accelerate the extinction to end humanity's suffering quickly. In their eyes, leaving mankind to slowly waste away in bunkers, waiting for inevitable doom, was too cruel. Better a swift, clean end than a long, agonizing decline. Amelie would later call this envisioned mercy killing the last stranding, an intentional extinction event designed to put humanity out of its misery. This marked a dramatic heel turn for both characters. Bridget, the public-facing president, continued to promise that humanity could overcome the Death Stranding. But in secret, she and Amelie began repurposing their plans and technology toward one final apocalyptic goal. Specifically, the chiral network, originally intended to reconnect the world and possibly gain insight into the beaches, was reimagined as a means to facilitate extinction. By linking every individual's personal beach into one massive network, Amelie, as the extinction entity, could flood the world with antimatter and dead matter in a single world-ending event. That was her endgame. It's heavy stuff. The president working to rebuild America was secretly planning to destroy it for the greater good. Bridget had come to accept her role as an extinction entity, but on her terms. Bridges, originally a research group, evolved into the backbone of a new UCA, United Cities of America, government initiative aimed at reconnecting the fractured nation. Publicly, it was framed as a humanitarian campaign to make America whole again. Bridges would send envoys westward to install communication relays and recruit cities into the UCA. The chiral network, powered by chiralium, a supernatural element, allowed instant data transmission, even across terrain where traditional communications failed. It could link isolated survivors, enable resource sharing, and even allow remote 3D printing of supplies. But that same network would also secretly serve Amelie's purpose, tying everyone's beaches together in preparation for the final event. Importantly, Bridget and Amelie weren't cartoon villains. They genuinely believed this was a tragic kindness. Amelie tells Sam later that she agonized over the decision. Alone on the beach with what she called the entirety of the universe's knowledge, she searched endlessly for another solution, but ultimately concluded extinction was inevitable, only delayable. Even if postponed, she reasoned, humanity would die out in hundreds of thousands of years anyway. So she chose a faster, more merciful end. One could argue Bridget and Amelie became rebellious extinction entities, not bent on destruction, but trying to end things on their own terms. In an almost comic twist, one interview file reveals that Amelie even spread dooms to others, like Fragile and Higgs, in hopes of crowdsourcing a better idea. Apocalypse via brainstorming. Sam's role in this grand plan had to be considered. By this point, Sam was an adult and a seasoned porter, working mostly alone and distanced from Bridges. The trauma of his youth had made him wary of relationships. He had joined Bridges briefly in his younger days, but resigned after a personal tragedy. By the time the chiral network was being rolled out, Sam was off-grid, making deliveries solo and avoiding both Bridget and the UCA. Bridget still loved Sam as her son, but also saw him as the ideal tool to complete the network, and thus unknowingly trigger the last stranding. After all, Sam had the blood of the extinction entity in his veins. Who better to walk the final path? But Sam would never volunteer for that, not in his mental state. The solution? A bit of royal manipulation. Bridget devised a plan. Amelie would lead a UCA expedition across the country to begin recruiting cities and laying down the chiral network. Later, Sam would be lured in under false pretenses to finish the job, and that's exactly what happened. A few years after the Death Stranding began, Amelie, looking as young as ever, headed west with a Bridges team. Along the way, they convinced isolated settlements to join the UCA and installed network relays, laying the foundation for a continent-spanning connection. Amelie became a symbol of hope, ageless, radiant, and promising to make America whole again. Many communities rallied behind her vision of unity. but the journey was long and dangerous. Team members died or stayed behind to oversee local outposts. By the time they reached the West Coast, specifically Edge Knot City, located near the former Los Angeles-San Diego area, Amelie was nearly alone. Then disaster struck. A militant separatist group called Homo Demons, Mad Men in Latin, attacked Amelie's party and took her hostage. Or so the world believed. In truth, this too was part of the plan. Homo Demons was led by Higgs Monaghan, a man who would soon emerge as the main antagonist to Sam's reluctant hero. Higgs was actually in league with Amelie, acting as her agent provocateur. We'll need to backtrack briefly to explain who Higgs is and how characters like Fragile become entangled in this apocalyptic scheme.
Because I'm fragile, but I'm not that fragile.
Around the same time, Bridges was expanding west. A private delivery company called Fragile Express rose to prominence. It was founded by a man who named the company after his daughter, Fragile. Yes, her name is literally Fragile. Kojima's naming strikes again. Fragile, the person, is a young woman with Doom's abilities, most notably the power to jump through the beach and teleport short distances, an incredibly useful ability for instant cargo delivery. After her father's death, she took over the company and dedicated it to helping isolated survivors by delivering essential supplies. During her travels, Fragile met Higgs, a fellow porter with a tragic past and a strong desire to save humanity. Higgs also had Dooms, though it seemed low-level at first. The two became partners of sorts, working together on missions to help others. Fragile trusted Higgs and saw potential in him as an ally. Unfortunately, Amelie saw something else in Higgs, a perfect pawn for her extinction plan. When her expedition encountered him out west, she sensed that his drive to help humanity could be warped. She revealed to Higgs the truth behind the Death Stranding, her identity as an extinction entity, and the inevitability of extinction itself. Already mentally unstable from personal loss, Higgs bought in completely. He became infatuated with Amelie's godlike power and convinced that accelerating the apocalypse was actually saving the world, albeit in a twisted, nihilistic way. Amelie vastly amplified Higgs's Doom's powers, pushing him far beyond Fragile's abilities. He gained the power to summon BTs at will, control timefall, and teleport, essentially becoming a walking natural disaster. She also gave him a mission: to spread chaos, trigger more Voidouts, and weaken the barrier between life and death even further in preparation for the last stranding. Higgs embraced the role with theatrical flair, donning a golden skull mask and styling himself as a harbinger of doom. He secretly founded and led the terrorist group Homo Demons. While they claimed to oppose the UCA's attempts at reunification, their true mission under Higgs was to destabilize society through acts of terror. He even betrayed Fragile to further his cause. In one infamous incident, he tricked her into unknowingly transporting nuclear bombs. One of her deliveries, intended for Middle Knot City, turned out to be a nuke, obliterating the city in a catastrophic explosion. Horrified, Fragile confronted Higgs, but he had a second bomb, this one aimed at South Knot City. He gave her a sadistic choice: teleport away and survive, dooming South Knot in the process, or carry the bomb away on foot, knowing he would strip her to her underwear and expose her to timefall the entire way. It was cruel revenge and a public humiliation meant to destroy her reputation. Fragile chose to save the city. She sprinted through the timefall, shielding the bomb, and managed to toss it into a tar pit just in time. She prevented the blast, but her body, from the neck down, aged drastically due to the rain. Her skin became wrinkled and weathered, while her face remained youthful under the mask Higgs had forced on her. He made sure everyone believed she was the one who delivered the nukes, ruining her name. Despite the betrayal and personal cost, Fragile pressed on. She continued to run Fragile Express and help people, now fueled by a deep desire for vengeance against Higgs. So by the time Amelie is situated on the West Coast, Fragile loathes Higgs. Higgs is Amelie's loyal disciple. Homo Demens controls Edge Knot City. The pieces are in place. The only thing missing is Sam, and Bridget is about to give him one final manipulative push to start his journey.
I love you, Sam. I'll be waiting for you on the beach.
Before we send Sam across America, there's one more key part of his backstory to cover. Something Death Stranding 2 later explores in more detail. After resigning from Bridges in his youth, Sam tried to live an isolated life as a freelance porter. But even he couldn't completely shut out human connection. That's when he met a woman named Lucy, who changed everything. Lucy was originally Sam's therapist, helping him cope with his trauma and nightmares. And let's be real, he had plenty. Extinction events, repatriation, beaches, the works. Over time, their professional relationship evolved into something more. They fell in love, got married, and soon Lucy became pregnant with Sam's child. For a while, Sam experienced real hope and happiness. He was going to be a father. But being connected to Sam came with unintended consequences. Sam's dooms and repatriate abilities aren't exactly hereditary in a traditional sense, but they did affect Lucy. As her pregnancy progressed, she began to develop dooms as well. She started having the same horrifying apocalyptic nightmares that plagued Sam, visions of ruined beaches, mass extinction, and doom. Imagine being pregnant and dreaming about the literal end of the world every night. It devastated her. At first, Lucy, ever the therapist, might have chalked it up to stress or hormones. But when Bridget quietly stepped in and confirmed that the nightmares were real prophecies of the sixth extinction, Lucy's last hopes crumbled. Knowing that her unborn child was doomed before even being born, that the future was set was too much to bear. One day, Sam returned from a delivery to a personal hell. Lucy had taken her own life. She had hanged herself at home, and in doing so, caused another catastrophe. With no one else around to manage the aftermath, Lucy's death triggered the appearance of a BT, likely her own soul, unable to move on. Worse, when Sam arrived and unknowingly touched the BT, it caused a massive Voidout. The resulting explosion destroyed the area, killing countless people. Sam, of course, repatriated and woke up in the scorched crater that had once been his home. It was gut-wrenching. Sam didn't just lose his wife and unborn child. He believed he had caused their deaths and the deaths of many others. His very touch, once again, had led to destruction. This tragedy pushed Sam over the edge. He severed ties with Bridges, with Bridget, with everything. He became a total recluse, working alone as a porter and avoiding emotional connections at all costs. By the time the main story of Death Stranding begins, Sam is a drifter, delivering packages in isolation and steering clear of the UCA and its leadership. He's touch-phobic, emotionally closed off, and burdened by overwhelming grief and guilt. And to be fair, he thinks his blood is literally dangerous. And in this world, it kind of is. Retcon note, in Death Stranding 1, we're told Lucy's death was a suicide that triggered a Voidout when Sam touched her BT. But Death Stranding 2 adds a twist. The sequel reveals Lucy may have been investigating Bridges and had uncovered secrets about the BB program. New evidence suggests she was actually killed by Bridges operatives while attempting to escape with that information. The Voidout may not have been caused by Sam at all, but by Neil Vanner, more on him later, who was involved in the cover-up. In other words, DS2 retroactively reframes the entire event. Sam believed for years that he caused the Voidout, but the truth may be far more sinister. We'll return to this revelation in the DS2 section. For now, we continue with the story as Sam understands it at this point in time.
This contains all the necessary security and operations protocols to integrate a terminal into the chiral web. Take the Cupid west, Sam, and reconnect the people of our great nation. And when you get to Edge Knot City, find Amelie and bring her home.
After that, I'll take over the presidency and carry on Mother's work to save the country.
This was Bridget's dying wish. This is how we'll move forward.
The narrative of Death Stranding, 2019, properly begins with Sam being pulled back into the affairs of Bridges and the UCA, against his will. It's been roughly 10 years or more since the Death Stranding event. Sam is summoned to Central Knot City, one of the few remaining cities, for a delivery, where he's unexpectedly reunited with his adoptive mother, President Bridget Strand, who is now dying of cancer. On her deathbed in a hidden underground facility, Bridget pleads with Sam to help Bridges one last time. She asks him to carry on Amelie's mission to reconnect the country, travel west of the Pacific, and bring every city and settlement online through the chiral network. Sam, bitter and emotionally scarred, initially refuses. He tells her flat out he couldn't care less about reconnecting America. As far as he's concerned, America is already gone, and so is his family. In a last-ditch effort, Bridget lies. She tells Sam, and everyone else present, that Amelie, his sister, has been captured by terrorists in Edge Knot City. If Sam reconnects the network and makes it to the West Coast, he can save her from Higgs and his Homo Demons group. The idea of rescuing Amelie, the one person Sam still feels bonded to, gets through to him. With her dying breath, literally, Bridget extracts a reluctant yes from Sam. And just like that, Sam is drafted into the Great Deliver, a cross-country odyssey to reunite America and save Amelie. Here's the twist. Amelie was never actually a prisoner. She was, as we now know, the Extinction entity, orchestrating everything from her beach. The kidnapping was staged. Amelie remained safely on the beach, but needed Sam and Bridges to believe she was in danger to motivate this final push. It's wildly manipulative. Bridget and Amelie essentially gaslit their son into jump-starting the Extinction plan. Even Di Hardman believed Amelie was really being held hostage. The truth doesn't surface until much later. Sam sets out from Capital Knot City, formerly Washington, D.C., heading west. He's armed with a Cupid, a necklace of data tags used to activate relay terminals and connect them to the chiral network. Most importantly, Sam is issued a bridge baby pod. Inside is a fetus codenamed BB-28. When linked to Sam's suit, the BB helps detect BTs using an attached robotic arm called an Aldridic. At first, Sam sees BB-28 as nothing more than equipment. He even refers to it as the IT. Given his history, he resents using a BB. But as the journey unfolds, something shifts. Sam and BB-28 begin to bond. As their sync rate grows, Sam starts calling the baby Lou, the name he and Lucy had chosen for their unborn daughter. Unknowingly, Sam names this new life after the one he lost. Later, it's revealed that BB-28 is female, making the name Louise all the more fitting. Accompanied by Deadman, a Bridges scientist with a Frankenstein-like body of transplanted organs, Sam begins his trek westward. Along the way, he encounters several allies. Fragile meets Sam early on and quickly becomes an invaluable partner. Her umbrella allows her to jump between beaches, letting her travel great distances instantly. She saves Sam more than once. Though she's been ostracized because of Higgs' betrayal, she finds a kindred spirit in Sam. Over time, a quiet mutual respect and a little dry banter develops between them. Mama, real name, is a Bridges scientist tethered to a baby BT. Her child, born during the Death Stranding, died but lingered as a benign spirit. Sam helps her let go of the ghost and reunite with her estranged twin sister, Lochner. Mama later dies but continues helping Bridges briefly from beyond. Hartman is a researcher who dies every 21 minutes due to a device attached to his heart, spending 3 minutes on the beach each time to search for his dead wife and child. He revives like clockwork over and over. He provides key lore, explaining the cycle of extinction entities and confirming the scientific pattern behind the Death Stranding. Despite his grim condition, Hartman adds levity with his dry wit. Deadman remains Sam's steady support, especially with BB care. Though eccentric, he grows genuinely fond of both Sam and Lou. Through interviews and conversations, he gradually begins to question Bridges' motives. Die Harden, John, Bridges' leader, coordinates from HQ. He's stoic but haunted by guilt from the Unger incident. His nickname stems from having survived numerous battles and one emotional betrayal. As Sam connects cities to the network, strange visions begin. Every time he syncs with Lou, he experiences flashbacks from a BB's perspective, watching a man, Cliff, played by Mads Mikkelsen, speak lovingly to the baby in various war zones. At first, Sam assumes these are BB-28's memories. In truth, they're his. Sam is seeing the moments when he, as an infant, was with his father, Clifford Unger. These scenes take place in shifting war zones, WI trenches, Vietnam jungles, etc. Manifestations of Cliff's personal beach, shaped by his past as a soldier. Cliff is searching desperately for his BB Sam, and when Sam is near a chiral storm, that connection drags him into these surreal combat arenas. Sam fights for survival, but each time escapes while learning more about Cliff's past. Eventually, Sam and his allies succeed. The entire country is connected from east to west. It's a triumphant moment, until it's not. As soon as the final link is established, Amelie's plan activates. The chiral network surges, triggering massive timefall storms. BT activity explodes. The sky darkens and the dead begin to flood into the world. The reconnecting of America has inadvertently opened the door to extinction. Sam continues to edge Knot City to confront Higgs and rescue Amelie. He battles a massive BT shaped like a twisted kaiju version of Amelie and defeats it. Higgs retreats with Amelie's soul to her beach. Sam can't follow until Fragile, using the last of her strength, teleports him there. On Amelie's beach, Sam faces off against Higgs in an intense final duel, combining gunplay and brutal fist-fighting. Higgs spews his nihilistic philosophy, but Sam ultimately triumphs. Rather than kill him, Sam spares Higgs and leaves him to Fragile. She exiles Higgs to the beach with no return, a poetic punishment. Then, the big reveal. Amelie was never a prisoner. She is the extinction entity. Bridget and Amelie are the same being, one in the real world, one on the beach. Die Hardman arrives, gun in hand, intending to stop her. But Amelie cannot be killed by mortal means. Suddenly, Cliff's spirit rises from the ocean one final time. Amelie, fearing for Sam's life, since dying on the beach means no repatriation, shoves him underwater, ejecting him back to the living world just as Cliff reaches them. Sam wakes near Edge Knot City. Amelie and Cliff are gone. The world is unraveling. Chiral storms rage and the last stranding is imminent. Fragile teleports Sam's allies back to the East Coast, but she's too weak to send Sam. So Sam must do the unthinkable, walk across America again, this time in reverse, alone through chaos. This final journey is symbolic, a reflection on everything and everyone he's connected with along the way. During the trek, Sam is pulled into one final vision, a submerged version of the Bridges lab. There, he faces Cliff once more. But this time, Cliff realizes the truth. Sam is his son. In an emotional scene, Cliff embraces Sam, calling him by name and saying, "I'm your father." His anger fades into peace. He salutes Sam, entrusting him with the future, and moves on. Sam returns to capital Knot City. Deadman plays him a recording from Die Hardman, who reveals the truth. Amelie never existed in the physical world. She was Bridget's soul. No one ever touched her outside the beach. Not even Sam. Finally understanding it all, Sam agrees to return to the beach for one last mission, not to kill Amelie, but to talk to her, to show her that hope still exists. That connection is worth fighting for. Fragile, recovered thanks to the cryptobiotes Sam delivered, uses her power one last time, sending Sam to Amelie's beach for the final confrontation.
Don't give up. You're still connected.
On Amelie's beach, Sam finally speaks with her free of lies and manipulation. She lays out the situation plainly. As the Extinction entity, she is the universe's instrument to reset life back to zero. The Death Stranding has been the build-up, and now she can trigger the last stranding, an extinction event even more absolute than those that came before. She admits that she originally tried to find a way to stop it, but after seeing how her efforts only caused more pain, Manhattan, Cliff, Lucy, the Death Stranding itself, she chose to end it swiftly instead. As the skies darken above her beach, she gives Sam a choice. Stay with her and witness the end of all things, or return to the world and delay the inevitable by severing his connection with her. But either way, extinction will come. Eventually. Sam refuses both. Instead of fighting or pleading, he embraces Amelie with love. He doesn't argue. He simply shows compassion for this lonely being who has carried the burden of death for eons. In that hug, Sam reminds Amelie of their human connection, of the time, long ago, when she told him as a child he might be the one to stop her. Without words, Sam says, "You're not alone. You don't have to do this." That gesture moves her. Sam's journey, reconnecting the living, caring for a BB, risking himself for others, has proven that life can persevere, even in the face of extinction. Amelie remembers that maybe, just maybe, the other extinction entities before her made the same choice, to let life continue out of hope. And so, just as the last stranding is about to begin, Amelie stops it. Or rather, she delays it indefinitely. She severs her beach's connection to the world, containing the extinction event within herself. In doing so, timefall ceases, and BT incursions retreat. The skies begin to calm. She's bought humanity time, maybe decades, maybe centuries. She tells Sam that the end is still out there someday, but not today. But there's a cost. When Amelie seals herself away, Sam is stranded, alone on his own beach, with no way to return. The extinction is averted, but Sam is now a lost soul. He wanders the grey shore for what feels like eternity. In voiceover, Amelie speaks to him gently, explaining lingering truths. It was she who made Sam a repatriate, inadvertently causing the Death Stranding in the first place. She orchestrated Cliff's appearances to give Sam closure, to show him that his father loved him and never abandoned him. It's a bittersweet resolution. Sam finally understands who he is, why he is, and what's happened. But he's stuck, until one last act of connection pulls him back. Earlier, Deadman had secretly tethered Sam's signal to BB Lou's pod. Sam wakes up in Capital Knot City, surrounded by friends. He's alive. The extinction is halted. Life goes on. In the aftermath, the UCA begins to rebuild. The chiral network, now free from Amelie's influence, becomes a tool for good, distributing supplies and reconnecting people. Die Hardman, overcome with guilt, is inaugurated as the new president. During his speech, he breaks down in tears, apologizing to Sam and vowing to lead with honesty and honor. It's a powerful scene, the once unbreakable man who doesn't die, finally letting his mask fall, literally and emotionally. Then comes one final gut punch. Deadman informs Sam that BB-28, Lou, is being decommissioned. She's failing. BBs aren't meant to survive outside the pod long term. As per protocol, she's scheduled for incineration. But Deadman, bless him, disables Sam's cufflink tracker and quietly encourages him to try something off the books. He hints there may be a chance to save Lou if Sam removes her from the pod and tries to resuscitate her. Sam does just that. He takes Lou's pod to the incinerator, the same one where his journey began, disposing of a corpse. But instead of burning the baby, Sam opens the pod and holds Lou in his arms. She appears lifeless. Sam panics. He starts CPR. He begs her not to go. Tears stream down his face. Then comes one final flashback. Cliff's voice, clear and full of love. "You're my bridge to the future. You are Sam Porter Bridges." Sam snaps out of it. He keeps trying. And then, just when all hope seems lost, Lou gasps to life, crying like a newborn. In her tiny hand is a familiar object, Amelie's golden Quipu charm, lost on the beach. Somehow, Amelie helped guide Lou back, just as she once did for Sam. Sam laughs, sobbing in relief. He holds Lou close. Sam is no longer a porter or a pawn. He's a father, and for the first time in a long time, he feels truly alive. As he steps outside, the timefall has stopped. Regular rain falls for the first time. It gently washes over Sam and his daughter, symbolically cleansing the world. The Death Stranding is over, for now. The world isn't fully healed. BTs still roam, the land is scarred, but hope has returned. Humanity has a fighting chance. Sam and Louise walk off together, untracked and free. A quiet, powerful image of love and resilience in a world trying to rebuild. Post-credit stinger. We see Sam and Lou's hands side by side, healthy and whole, resting near a photo of Sam's loved ones, Bridget, baby Sam, and pregnant Lucy. It's a quiet image of connection across generations. And yes, it confirms it. Lou was short for Louise all along. And that concludes the story of the first Death Stranding, a tale of extinction, trauma, and cosmic horror, undone by something as simple and powerful as human connection. But of course, Kojima wasn't finished. Death Stranding 2 picks up the thread, bringing new mysteries, new threats, and new truths that rewrite everything we thought we knew. Sam's peace was hard-earned. Now, it's about to be disturbed again. In the end, the saga is equal parts metaphysical and emotional. Kojima weaves lofty sci-fi concepts, life and death entwined, cosmic balance, souls in AI clouds, with grounded human drama. What stops extinction isn't a weapon or system, it's love. Sam saved Amelie not with a gun, but a hug. Lou rejected her fate because of her bond with her dad. The rope beat the stick. Connection triumphed over destruction, just as the game's central theme predicted. We've followed this timeline from the Big Bang to tomorrow. And what's it all really about? Hope. Even if doom is written in the stars, how we face it, together or alone, makes all the difference. With a bit of dark humor, you could say, only in Death Stranding can delivering packages and hugging your sister literally save the world. But beneath the strangeness lies something honest. In the darkest moments, it's our strands, family, friendship, faith, that hold extinction at bay. And that's the heart of Death Stranding, from one end of the world to the next.